The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, and help me welcome Jeff Nelson. Jeff, welcome forward.
Good afternoon.
Jeff, you're from Liberty House, and this is, can you tell us a little bit about Liberty House and what they do?
Sure. Well, we incorporated as a nonprofit in 1993. Don Duhamel, who we refer to as kind of the grandfather of Liberty House, was a retired sergeant from the Air Force. And he was really upset by seeing the homeless veterans in the community. And he started that movement to really develop a Liberty House. And Annette Nelson, her maiden name was Pachosa. Her brother Harold was killed on February 3rd, 1943 in a transport ship. It was actually the Dorchester, which is referred to as the Four Chaplain ship. Some interesting history that goes with that. But he was killed along with 600 other servicemen on the way to the front in Europe. And in honor of his name, she put in will and trust the Pachosa Estate, which is a 1930s vintage farmhouse right on West Baker Street in Manchester, to go to serve veterans. The local VFW got involved as kind of an administrator of the property, and they had us go in 2004, and we've been there for the last 15 years. And we've had 340 residents come through our doors since then. And
what are you doing now that you're a part of Catholic Charities, as I understand it?
Yes.
And you have a new home that you're going to put together, I guess. When do you think that'll open?
We're hoping mid to late July, maybe early August. There's just a lot of variables. There's still some of the Catholic Charities office space is still being used by their IT department and their accounting department, and they're due to move out in June. So it really depends on their movement. It depends on renovation and kind of the planning board process and all of those types of procedural things we need to go through. But we're really hoping by the end of July to really be in the door, if not fully moved, really almost all the way moved in.
Good. And how many people are you housing in there?
Well, currently we have 9 residents. When we move, depending on how things shake out as far as the renovation and working with the city, we hope to have between 20 and 24 beds in the new building. But one of the most important things that we really created this vision, the staff did about a year and a half ago, was a vet center. We receive about 170 visits a month from community vets who don't live with us. They come to us for food, for clothing, bus passes, gas cards. Occasionally we help them with presents at Christmas time. And however we can help our community vets. And we felt like we really needed a place where they could come in, have a safe, sober environment, maybe some pool tables, ping pong tables.
Little recreation.
Yeah, some recreation. We're going to have a resource room where there'll be some computers and workstations so they can work on resumes or job searches, benefit searches, and we can help guide them in that process. Maybe even, we don't even have a dining room for our guys in this existing house. In the new building, there's a beautiful, probably 30-seat dining room.
Oh, boy.
And we hope maybe we can invite community vets on holidays to come in for a holiday meal.
That sounds like a good idea.
So the new building opens a lot of doors that we've never even been able to think about before. So it's a very exciting possibility.
What about in your future? You continuing to grow, or you think 5 years from now you'll have 100 people? I don't know.
Well, hopefully not. We have a job that we would almost most appreciate if we could work ourselves out of a job. To think that there are veterans who are struggling either financially or with addiction is something that is just really tragic in our eyes. But understanding the realities and understanding that a lot of these vets do struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder. They struggle with some traumatic brain injuries. And so we always want to be there for them. We hope it's not 100 beds. We hope we can actually start reducing, but we want to be there for them.
Well, I think you probably want to process them through in a way if they're able to go out and do something by themselves. But your methodology might be so good that you'll attract people from a further distance to come to see you and get the help they need temporarily.
And we do. We get veterans from all over the country.
Oh,
We
really?
have them from Southern California. We tend to get a lot from Massachusetts, the Boston area. And they just happen to come to us, and we will take any veteran that is anything but a dishonorably discharged veteran. So they don't have to be honorably or even general discharge. And for a lot of those vets, they're really left without a lot of resources. They're not service connected at that point. Things are changing a little bit. They can get some help for their post-traumatic stress. But by and large, they're not service connected if they have a less than honorable discharge.
Yeah, right.
And so a lot of our time is spent helping them access local resources. Some of our guys haven't seen a doctor or primary care physician for years, haven't been able to have mental health help.
I was thinking just about the mental health now that New Hampshire's really making things more available as a state, and all the traumatic things that a lot of veterans have gone through, whether service connected or else, and of course the addiction for drugs. Those things are something that there's an extended need for help. You just don't, get them off it and then let them go. You got to make sure that they stay off it, number one, and sometimes give them more belief in themselves, or a feeling that they can do something, that it's not lost anymore. And I think that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and we have a very simple, for our guys that are in recovery, we have a very simple 4-step model. The first is recovery. They all go to intensive outpatient. We use a local company called VFR, Veterans and First Responders. So it's trauma-informed work. And they're in with peers that have seen trauma and experienced trauma. And so that's worked well for us. And that's about a 4 to 6 week time period that they go through their intensive outpatient work. During that time, they can't work except in our food and clothing pantry. So they serve other veterans from the community that come in with the staff. Once they're done with that, we transition to work. Our guys all are required to do full-time work. And we're very fortunate. One of our board members owns a local franchise, a professional staffing agency. And so he's a retired commander in the Navy, and he's extremely helpful for us. Doesn't charge our guys or us for placement, and we've been really successful. We've made some connections with other local companies. And so once they start working, our guys, they are required to give us 50% of their net pay. We don't charge. We put that in a savings escrow for them so that when they leave, they have walking away money.
That's interesting.
Whether that's a down payment on a car, or whether it's possibly first month's security deposit on an apartment, maybe just a little bit of a cushion. They at least have that when they leave us.
It's a wise thing to do. A savings account that works out.
Yeah, and a lot of our guys have, because they have been using for as long as they have, a lot of our guys have horrible credit. A lot of them don't have even motor vehicle licenses. So those are all things. They don't have their Social Security cards. They don't have their birth certificates in many cases. So a lot of those things that the rest of us take for granted, that really you need to be marketable today in the job market, we really try and help them get to that place where they can have a license. They may not have a car yet, but at least have a license. They have all their essential documents so that they can get the job. And I think that it's a simple model, but it is something that has worked for us.
So you're working with people that are residents and people that aren't residents. They come from how far away for that?
It really depends. Most are from the Manchester area, but we will hear of a vet. One that comes to mind is a vet who was taking custody of his granddaughter because his daughter was using, and she was in another state. This young lady was just starting high school, and she was moving from a southern state to New Hampshire, quite a ways outside of Manchester. Didn't have any clothes. He doesn't have the ability to pay. He and his wife, they're on a fixed income. He's a Vietnam vet. So we were able to take her out and get some clothing so that at least she could start the year, hopefully fitting in with a little bit of comfort because she had a new wardrobe. So that's an example of they live probably 40 or 50 miles away. Wherever we know of an issue with a vet that we can help and we have the ability to help, it doesn't matter where they come from, really.
So people would contact you and tell you about these kind of situations? Is that it?
In that case, one of our people heard about him, and he made a phone call and connected, and so it happens that way. Most often, people come in. But it just really varies. Last year or the year before, we had a vet who, with his wife and daughter, stepped off of a bus having come from West Virginia looking for work with $400 in his pocket. He needed a lot of help.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so there are those kind of stories, and there's a lot of local stories. We have a Vietnam vet who comes in once every couple of 3 weeks. He's on a fixed income. So for a lot of those vets that are on fixed incomes, if some unanticipated bill comes up and they have to pay that, a new set of tires for the car or whatever, they have to make some tough choices. So we always would like to be there for whether it's food, clothing, gas cards, as I said, however we can help.
And the best way to contact you is by phone or by email or what?
Either by phone, the 603-669-0761 number, or they can email or Facebook. We have a messenger page, so if they just go to that libertyhousenh.org, they can see our website, our Facebook page. And that's where we put a lot of our upcoming events and kind of the happenings that are going on at the house.
So tell us about some of the things that you do, your events or what's coming up in the future.
Sure. So we don't take any state or federal money to fund our program. We supply everything to our vets through private donations. So a lot of our food, our clothing comes from others as donations. We get monetary donations, and we also run fundraisers throughout the year. So our staff is an incredibly committed and dedicated staff, and not only do they do their regular work Monday through Friday, but they also help with fundraising. Some of our folks are working on cornhole boards now. Excuse me, painting them now. Getting ready for the 25th of April. And we're having our cornhole tournament over in Epping at the Seacoast United soccer facility. So we're looking forward to that.
That would be interesting. You should have a good crowd for that.
We hope so.
Yeah, and it's those kind of recreational things that are a little bit competitive too, I think, built up the spirit of some of these people who have been feeling down and out, I guess you might say.
Yeah, a lot of times our residents will go, our community vets will go, and then the next event that we have is coming up on the 26th of June, and that's going to be a golf tournament, and that's going to be at the Stonebridge Golf Country Club in Goffstown. So certainly, if anybody has any interest in either of those, they can give us a call, and we'd be happy to give them more information.
Okay. Well, in general, though, what kind of golf tournament is it? I mean, is it?
I'm not a golfer.
Oh, okay.
So it's a shotgun start,
Okay.
and it's
That's where they usually get them going. Yeah.
right, and it's an 18 hole this year.
Okay.
We've done this for 2 years now, and they were 9 holes, and we feel like we've got at least a little bit of a handle, and we've got another person that is going to help us that is a golfer. So that's really important because
Yeah.
none of us on the staff are golfers. So it will be very helpful.
Well, I
having-
think that's something. If you can get people again, it's getting them back into the community that I think is what you're trying to, get the people to believe that they do have a life ahead of them.
And a lot of our fundraisers are really not only about raising money for the program, which is vital, but also it's really important for us to make new connections and to really get out into the community. We're still not really well known. We've always been kind of the small guy in the block. And so for us, visibility is just as important. And especially with the new building, there's going to be a large amount of renovation costs. And we're going to be starting a capital fund for that as well. So if anybody's interested, we're going to have naming rights for rooms and things like that.
That'd be nice.
So there's always, when you don't take the government funding, there is always a concern for where's the next dollar coming from.
But at the same time, you have a lot of freedom with using the dollars.
Absolutely. We don't have the red tape and the regulation, but I have to say we are tremendously blessed with the donors that we have. We have groups that continually, Rolling Thunder, Nam Knights, the list is the American Legion Riders. We just have a whole host of donors that are just fantastic that year after year contribute in whatever way they can. And so we're just really blessed.
So again, you're saying, though, that you welcome people who might want to do a fundraiser for you.
We do have some that we've actually been able to steal into our volunteer ranks that did start. A couple of ladies down in the Wyndham area, Lucy and Laura, who just wanted to do an event for us, the Winter Warrior Wonderland, and did it the first year and called us a few weeks before and said, "Don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. Can you come down?" And they started it. This was their second year. We're coming up on the third year, and now we grabbed them as volunteers. So
Great.
There's all sorts of those kind of events.
A lot of opportunities for people to help.
Absolutely.
Again, just get in touch with you and find out what to do and how to do it.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like a wonderful way of building not only your income, but your way of helping the people that you're trying to serve.
And we've had a lot of groups that have always wanted to volunteer and help out, and we've never really had the facility, the physical plant to help. Oftentimes we will get calls from families that say, "We're not going to give presents, we want to do service this Christmas," for instance. Can we come in and cook a meal for your guys, your residents? And in the past, as I said, we haven't even had a dining room. So we just haven't had the ability.
Yeah.
Now we can have them come in. So there's all sorts of things that will come about just being a volunteer in our rec center, just spending time with our vets in our pantry. In the future here, hopefully by September 1st, we'll be in the new building 100% operational. So we're looking forward to it. It's always great to have new volunteers. We've had some that have been with us for years. But it's always exciting to bring fresh blood in, and they bring a new set of eyes and new thoughts and ideas. So,
do you need something for people to drive people to doctors or hospitals or whatever?
We will likely need that in the future, especially as we get some elderly veterans and maybe some that are disabled. We will definitely need that help. I would say that we want to wait until we get into the new building, get settled, and we're going to be very careful how we scale and increase our veteran population that live with us, because we only have 3 full-time staff. As soon as we get to a certain level, we'll add another case manager, but at this point, we don't want to get overwhelmed.
No, you don't want to leave them hanging there.
The priorities always, even though we're very busy with renovation, with
Right.
fundraisers, our priority is always on our guys. Has to be.
And have any of them come back to help out after they got on their own and just to sort of pay back a little bit of what they got?
Absolutely. It's always rewarding to see that. We have one vet who was there as a resident several years ago, lives independently and comes in almost every day to help with our food and clothing, helps get food and clothing for vets that come in from the community. And then we'll have others that every once in a while you'll get a vet that will stop by and give a, $20, $50. And he'll say, I was here a number of years ago and times were tough, but I'm doing better now. And it may not be a lot, but it's something. And so, and we get visits fairly often, and we love to see our guys come back. It's always great to see them, and we really like that.
Going to have an alumni party.
They're always welcome. So whenever they want to stop by, they're welcome.
Well, do you have any other ideas of what you want to do for these vets? Is there anything that you're not capable of doing now, but in the future you hope to be able to do?
The only thing that we don't really do right now is we don't have a residential program for female vets. They often come with a few more, I don't really like the word complications, but a lot of times they'll have children. So you really have to be set up for that.
Right.
And we really don't want to have females living with males just because of the issues that can create. And so there have been some thoughts about maybe having a separate house for female vets. That would be something we'd like to look at. The other thing is eventually, once we get settled in Manchester, that would kind of be our base. We would like to replicate Liberty House, probably smaller, the 10 to 15 house, resident house size, maybe around the seacoast, maybe north of Concord, and maybe over towards the west. We feel like
you have satellite operations.
yes,
So
replicate what we do on a little bit smaller scale.
yeah.
And that's something we've talked about, and there's a lot of interest on the seacoast. It's been challenging just dealing with this move.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot to worry about right now. But,
Yes.
It's good to have ideas, too, something to reach out for and something that's driving you and something that justifies more fundraising, because that's what you're going to need.
Absolutely.
And besides funds, would you take, while you're moving into a new house, used furniture or something like that?
We can't use that. We have to be a little bit careful about that. There's a lot of things that are kind of inherent in running an operation like we do. Bed bugs, for instance, is a real concern, so we really can't have any wooden furniture. And so there's just a lot of things like that we have to weigh out. So the furniture right now, we do help vets from the community with furniture. But we don't take it in because we don't have the space to store it. Bill, who you can call 9 to 2 every day, Monday through Friday, he can help coordinate. So if he knows of a vet that needs a kitchen set
I see.
and somebody calls and wants to donate a kitchen set, he can connect them. So he's kind of the conduit. But we really can't take the furniture because we just don't have the storage space.
But there is a connection so that if you know of a need and somebody says, I have a kitchen set or a dining set, they can call you and they says, yes, we do, or we'll call you if we have somebody that needs that.
Yes, and that is something that a lot of our vets face, is they face evictions, especially those that are struggling. And when they do get a new place, they've got to furnish it from the word go. So and however we can help, we do our best.
Okay, well, that's interesting because that's not always available to people, I know when I moved into the house, if that was available, I would have given some of my older stuff away. But we we got rid of it anyway. But what else can we tell the audience about your operation or what you want to do or how people can help?
What I would say is we are always open. We're very transparent. We love to have visitors. We feel as though when people see what we do, that's our biggest selling point as far as people wanting to engage, and whether that's to be a donor or whether it's to be a volunteer or just go to our next event. That's how a lot of our volunteers started. They just kind of came to the house with somebody else. It really resonated with them, and it really engaged them, and they started volunteering. And one of our best volunteers is actually working for us part-time. So she started that way.
Really?
Was a volunteer, came in 2 or 3 days a week just to volunteer, and now we finally convinced her to work for us. So I think when people really talk to our guys, talk to the staff, when that happens, a lot of people really try and find a way to help. And there's going to be, especially moving in the new place, there's going to be plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if there's anything in the future that you're going to hold, you want to make a little publicity, I'd be glad to have you on the show ahead of time, and we can help you try to draw a larger crowd.
That'd be great. And the Cornhole Tournament on the 25th of April, and at Seacoast United, and at Stonebridge Country Club on the 26th of June, the golf tournament. All they have to do is give a call, talk to me or Ashley, and we'd be glad to give them whatever information, whether it's sponsorships or whether it's participants. We'd be glad to help.
Jeff, it's been nice talking to you.
Same
Thank
here.
you very
Thank you so much for your time.
Hopefully have more success.
Well, thank you very much.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.